Welcome back, everyone. How are you fine folks doing tonight? Well, I hope. I have a brand new encounter for y'all. Did everyone sleep okay after last night's upload? 'Cause I'll tell you right now, I sure didn't. That encounter really got to me. Anyways, tonight's encounter will probably stick with you as well. But before we get into it, please like and share and subscribe to the channel. That's the only admission fee to listen to all these encounters. Just a simple like and subscribe. If you're already subscribed, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. And if you're not subscribed, I'm glad you're here as well. I know your finger is hovering over that subscription button. Just go ahead and press it. I promise you won't regret it. I also want to remind you guys to make sure to hit the notification bell so you will be notified of any of my future uploads. Is everyone comfy? Grab a drink. Lock your doors and windows. Hit the lights. And let's get started. It's nice to finally get in touch with you, R.A. I've been fighting with myself for a couple of weeks now, trying to decide whether I wanted to share my story or not. Well, I've finally decided to pull the plug and just do it. I want to stay as anonymous as possible while retelling this, so forgive me if I'm a little brief with certain details about myself. I used to work as a seasonal park ranger in Florida. I mainly just did maintenance and trail checks in the Apalachicola National Forest. Did I butcher that? I probably butchered that. My encounter happened in late September 2018. It was right before I left my job for good. That evening, I was doing a final sweep on a remote trail near Wright Lake. I remember the sun was setting because I told myself I needed to hurry up. The woods get eerily quiet in that area. I've seen my fair share of wildlife on the job. I've encountered bears, panthers, wild hogs, and now to add to that list, last but not least, a dogman. If it's even considered an animal, I know there's many theories about this, but I digress. I had almost finished my sweep when I started hearing movement in the brush off the right side of the trail. It sounded like another person was just clumsily making their way through the woods, not even trying to dodge any limbs or branches. It was just barreling through the trees. To be honest, my first thought was there was a hog rooting around. I'm pretty sure it did not know of my presence. That is, until I sneezed. And then that chaotic movement stopped abruptly. It turned around and was headed back the direction that it came from, moving away from me. But the way it was moving this time, now that it knew someone was there, was not the same as before. These movements were slow and measured. I was immediately concerned because it wasn't thrashing around like you'd expect from a startled animal. I just stood there, listening hard. After I heard it take 10 to 15 steps, it stopped in a thick part of the brush. This is when I could hear it breathing. It was taking deep, long, steady inhales and exhales. This wasn't a snort or grunt or growl, it was just a normal, heavy breathing. I could feel its eyes on me. I debated between two different options. I thought about just slowly backing up and continuing my way out. But my fear and curiosity presented a second option: to take my flashlight and shine it on whatever this is and see exactly what I was dealing with. I decided the flashlight was the better, safer option because there are some pretty dangerous predators in these woods. It wouldn't be safe for me to turn my back on it and not know what it is. As soon as I raised my flashlight and brought it up, shined it in that area, I was met with a pair of eyes, glowing yellow in the beam of my flashlight. When I saw how high off the ground the eyes were, I ruled out a hog or panther. That only left one option that I was familiar with. I thought that it most definitely had to be a bear standing up. I thought I was scared when the thought of a bear came to mind. But when I slowly started making out the shape and the outline of its body, my fear tripled. The first thing I noticed was it had a head like a dog. I could clearly make out a long, skinny snout, tall, pointed ears, and it was also clearly standing on its hind legs. I heard another encounter where a guy described a Dogman as looking like the Egyptian god Anubis. That clicked in my brain when I heard it, because that's exactly what this thing reminded me of. My brain was short-circuiting and scrambling for any logical explanation, but there wasn't one. This creature was built like a lean, muscular man. If a man was covered in nasty, black, matted fur, out of the edge of my beam I could see that it had hands like a human as well. It had its left arm outstretched and it was gripping the trunk of a pine tree. I heard a scratching sound and noticed that it was taking one of its fingers and using its claws to scratch off pieces of bark while it was staring at me. It finally brought its arm down to its side and I watched it lean forward and kind of furrow its brow and narrow its gaze. It went from terrifying to pure evil in about 1 second. It looked like it was double my height, but in reality, the thing probably stood around 7.5 to 8 feet tall. Its chest was barrel-shaped, but its waist was tapered. Its body reminded me of an elite Olympic swimmer. I mean, this creature was the definition of physically fit. It was also well over 300, maybe 400 pounds of nope. It never made a sound as it stood there, glaring at me like it wanted to skin me alive. I thought maybe if I just slowly backed away that it wouldn't see me as a threat and I could ease my way out of there. I'm trained to deal with bears and other local wildlife, but there's no training that prepares you for facing down a Dogman. I started backing away slow and steady, not turning my back on it at any point. My truck was a good 300 yards behind me, parked near the trailhead. But to my horror, the moment that I moved, the Dogman took a step forward. It wasn't moving aggressively or fast, but it followed me. It kept perfect pace with my movements. But it seemed to not like the flashlight, and it stayed just outside of the reach of the beam. I could still hear it breathing, and I could hear the snapping and cracking of twigs and sticks beneath its feet when it took a step. I had my radio, but I knew calling for help was just pointless. No one was close to my location, and what would I even say? Not to mention that this thing would be on me before I could even speak. I had bear spray and my sidearm. The size of this thing I was not very confident in my sidearm. I figured that the bear spray would probably give me a better chance to get away. The sidearm would have just made this thing angry, and that would have been the end. I didn't pull up and point the spray, but I kung fu gripped it while I was holding it in my hand. I was ready to quick draw all that spray like Wyatt Earp himself. I don't know if you've ever tried walking backwards for 300 yards trying to not trip in the dark with an 8-foot tall monster walking in front of you. If you have, then you'll know how long it took me to just get within sight of my truck. And once I did get within sight of my truck, I wasn't taking any chances. I quickly lifted the spray and released it like my life depended on it, which it did. As soon as I sprayed it, I heard this thing exhale really loud, deep and deep out of its nostrils. It started frantically clawing at its face and making this weird sound that was a mix between a pig grunting and a dog whimpering. That's when I made my break. I run full speed, made it to the truck, jumped in, slammed the door, and the second I turned on the headlights, the Dogman was gone. Not a sound could be heard. No movement could be seen. Just the trees, still and quiet as if nothing had ever been there, and none of that had just happened. I stayed up all night pacing back and forth, wondering if I should mention this to anyone. If I did decide to tell someone, what was I supposed to say? Hey buddy, you're never going to believe this. Guess what I saw? I saw a werewolf in the woods last night on the trail. They would have locked me up. So I ultimately decided just to keep it to myself. This is only the second time I've ever told this to anyone. The only other person that knows about this is my younger brother. He instantly believed me because he's the one that told me that it was a Dogman. I had no idea what he was even talking about. He got on his phone and was showing me pictures and videos. That's how I found my way onto YouTube. I've been listening to Dogman Encounter's channels since. I found your channel about 2 months ago. I thought my encounter was about as bad as one can get, but some of the ones that people have sent you are way worse than mine. Not that it's a competition, because just seeing one of these things is enough to make you go mad. Although people claim this creature to have a supernatural element, I didn't get that vibe at all. I think Dogman is just a physical creature. I think along with Sasquatch, they are the world champions of hide and seek. Although the Dogman seems to like to play the game a little differently. They do hide, but you don't seek them. They seek you. I stayed far away from that trail before my job ended. You know, to this day I wonder what would have happened had I not had my flashlight and that can of bear spray. It's probably best for my mental health to not even think about it. Well, that's what happened. That's every single detail that I can recall. The only piece of advice I have for anyone: don't run, and do not pull the trigger on one of these things unless you have a really high caliber weapon. A bullet is only going to make this thing mad, unless of course you hit it in the head. If you do pull the trigger and you aim for the head, just make sure you don't miss, because I have a feeling you're only going to get one shot. I'll be waiting to hear back from you. I know you probably have a lot of emails to sort through, so I'm not in a big hurry. I don't even care if you share this. I just wanted to tell you what happened. It honestly feels good to share it with someone else, especially when I know that person believes me. Thank you, Real Adventures. I hope you and your family are doing okay. Please be careful out there in the woods at night. You're putting yourself in a dangerous situation, and sometimes I worry about your safety. I appreciate that. We will still listen to your encounters, even if you record them from the safety of indoors. Don't get yourself hurt, or maybe worse. I will hopefully talk with you soon. Again, no rush. I'm in no hurry. Reply when you have time. Anonymous. Thank you very much, kind sir, for submitting your encounter. Like the others before you, I'm honored that you would select me to share this. And I'm sure the other listeners will thank you as well. You have my respect, brother. It takes a lot of guts to share something like this with thousands of people that you don't even know. And you're right, I definitely do believe you 100%. I'm just glad you were quick to think of the bear spray instead of using your handgun. I don't know what caliber you were carrying, but I know it probably wasn't big enough to deal with one of these things. That decision alone, in my opinion, most likely saved your life. Well done. Well done indeed. Again, thank you for sending the story in, and I'm glad that you made it out in one piece. And I hope that you enjoyed my narration of your encounter. Now let's move on and get some opinions from all these subscribers of Legend. I know you guys probably get sick of my corny lines, but I just want y'all to know how much I appreciate you being here. It really does mean a lot that you guys join me out here each night and relive these people's nightmares. I hope everyone is staying safe out there. If nothing else, I hope you guys have learned at least one thing that could help you if you ever find yourself in a similar situation as this guy did. I have no doubt that his quick thinking and his decision-making skills under pressure saved his life. Well, if you've made it this far and you're still listening, you're a trooper. You have not only my respect, but my gratitude as well. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's upload. I'll be back again tomorrow night with another brand new encounter. Until next time, my friends, watch over your loved ones, keep your head on a swivel, and as always, good night.